Farmer's daughter over here. I can get up early.
Okay. All right, Miriam, the floor is yours.
I think, yes, we're on live. So hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today's masterclass to explore the key competencies to excel as a strategic leader in the wine and spirits business. My name is Miriam. I'm working within the international development team here at BSP. My colleague Elsa Gair from the marketing department, who's not on stage, however, will be posting useful information throughout our session. Here with us today are 3 alumni of our MBA in Wine and Spirits Business program, Jacqueline Stokes from the 2018 intake, who's currently who's the co-founder of Stokes Vineyards and also sales manager at Clinker Brink Winery in the US. Bruno Ferrari from the 2018 intake works as a reserve trade advocacy manager at Diageo in Peru, and Joe Benvenuto from 2019 intake. He's the founder of the Zurich Wine Academy in Switzerland. So now I would like to give the floor to Jacques Thébault, the MBA Wine and Spirits Business Program Director, who will provide an overview of the themes that will be covered and debated with our alumni. Please also keep in mind that these discussions will be followed by a Q&A session. So the floor is yours, Jacques.
Thank you very much, Miriam, and thank you for all the participants from various parts of the world. We have about 90 participants in this little masterclass that we're doing. I want to thank our alumni again, Jacqueline, Joe, and Bruno, that were introduced by Miriam. It's awesome to have you guys on. I think it's 5 a.m. We just said in California. It's probably even more early in Peru, Bruno.
8 a.m. gladly.
Oh, all right. Yes, of course.
It's still early for me, right? But yeah.
Yes.
That's basically 5 a.m. for Bruno.
Thanks, Bruno. And Joe is the lucky one because he's on the same time zone based in Zurich. So it's absolutely fantastic to have you. I'll introduce myself really briefly. Jacques Thébault, I'm the director of the MBA Wine and Spirits Business program at the School of Wine and Spirits Business in Burgundy, calling from Dijon in Burgundy. Before I moved to the education part of the world, I worked in marketing consulting for 25 years for the wine and spirits industry and also the food industry in the US, Europe, and also in Asia. So it's really, I think we're going to have a good time today discussing a few things. The theme of the specific class and masterclass is the key competencies to excel as strategic leaders in the wine and spirits business. It's never been as needed, those skills as today. Just a quick introduction on the wine and spirits business world. We're talking about $463 billion with a growth of 5% last year, so quite dynamic. A fascinating sector, really, with passion at the heart of it. I think our alumni will just be a testimony to this. The wine and spirits world is also going through many changes and challenges, some of them being climate change, some of them, of course, sustainability emergency, moving and changing consumer profiles, changing trends among consumers, the health and wellness trend as well. Growing middle classes in various parts of the world, Southeast Asia, Asia in general, also Africa, actually, we could talk a little bit about it. Global economic shifts, trade wars, and so on. So lots of issues we're facing, lots of needs for education at the same time. Some of us who were at Wine Paris, very important trade show, and attended a seminar on wine education. The conclusion of this seminar is that there's really a strong need for education in a world that's changing fast. So that's for the introduction, really. Now we're going to talk a little bit about those strategic skills, and our alumni maybe will have visions on additional ones regarding the wine industry, I think because of all those trends, innovation is key in various parts: road to market, education, marketing, product launch, and so on. Product industry, knowledge industry. This industry has specific codes as well, and this is something quite important to understand. A bit different than other industries, probably. Strategic vision, leadership, global vision as well. This is a very global industry, and our alumni are just a testimony of this. So maybe I will start to ask Jacqueline a question, if you want, Jacqueline. Once again, you're general manager at Stokes Brothers Farms, co-owner of Stokes Vineyard, creator of Label Nu wine, and you're California sales manager also. So you have so many titles. I hope I listed them all.
Yep.
And you've been quite busy since you left the MBS. So maybe you want to start talking about this idea of innovation and how important it is or it has been in your career.
Yeah, of course. I see it on various levels, but like Jacques says, my day-to-day is different every single day, which personally I love. And my brain is always moving and always working. And that's part of the innovation piece. I work on the production side, on the product side, on the management side, on the sales side. They all overlap. And actually having that diversity has helped me to be better in all the other areas. And so when it comes to innovation, I actually looked back at my notes last night from the program, and one of the things from a previous class that we took was a line that I wrote down, which was tradition kills innovation, and which always stuck out to me because I come from a family business. I'm a 4th generation grape grower in California. So tradition is really important to everything we do. And through the program, you visit a lot of producers, you meet with a lot of executives, and you find that they're very, tradition plays a very important role. And so as we're in this world of a lot of innovation, like Jacques said, you kind of still have to remember tradition. So I think one of the biggest challenges of the wine industry is that tradition piece, and knowing when you want to bring in innovation while keeping tradition. And so for me, I see this in 2 ways in the wine industry, especially in California. I see it with newer entry brands that are coming into the market, and they're redefining the wine industry. So it could be, like Jacques said, through sustainability, through regenerative agriculture, which is becoming the next big thing in California. And my family is actually starting to adopt. We're already sustainable or certified sustainable, but we're adopting regenerative practices, and we're really big on efficiency. So mechanization is very important to us. And so you kind of see all those things evolving, but with these newer brands that are changing packaging. So you have a lot of people coming into the market with new packaging, non-alcoholic wines. And then I see another side of it, which is these strong brands who have name recognition that carry history and tradition as part of their brand. And through the program, you kind of see both sides. You really see both sides of that. And so when I came back to Lodi, California, which is where I'm at, I could really kind of help my family start to integrate these models into what they're doing. And it's been a process. I mean, it's been 4 or 5 years that I've been working on it, and it's still something I work on. But I think in terms of competencies that I learned through the program, I would say the biggest ones for me were adaptive innovation, which is basically you can accept that tradition is a really big, important part of this industry, but that you want to keep innovating. So whether you're a newer brand or a newer business, versus being one that really cares about tradition and knows that's their brand, you can understand that there's different ways to reinvent the wheel. And I constantly saw that, whether that was when we visited the champagne producers and see what they've done through all their years of evolution in the industry, or when you're visiting the UK or New York and seeing how modern their approach is and how important digitalization has become. And that was another big one where we see too, like the impact of climate change and all the ways that, like Germany, that was a really great exposure for me, was seeing how Germany is evolving with the potential changes in climate and how they're adapting all their different varieties because of coming from a cooler climate to potentially having a warmer climate in the future, long-term future. So the other competency I feel like I learned through the program was this idea of thinking outside the box. You're always going to be in a collaborative setting, and you're always going to be in a diverse setting. So in the program, it was more like actual diversity, right? Everyone's from a different country, a different culture, and you're learning from each other. When I came back to California, the diversity in the room for me with my family business was the generations that I was working with. So I wanted to do all these new things, and then it turned out not everyone wanted to do that. They were like, oh, but we've always done it this way, or this is the tradition. So I really had that conflict. So it helped me tremendously using those tools from the program. And so that's what I would say for me when it came to innovation. It's a really important part, and you have to survive in this industry. And in order to do that, you have to innovate constantly, even though you want to keep those traditional values alive. And like Jock said, there's a lot going on in the wine industry. California is having to really innovate. And I don't know that we're doing the best job. In some ways we are. In other ways, there's room for improvement, which is where, as an MBA alumni, I can kind of use my tools and my leadership abilities to kind of maneuver around that as best as possible.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jacqueline. I know we've had those conversations when you didn't come exactly from the wine business except your family, but you had worked outside the wine industry, and then you came back in the family really to innovate and change a number of things. So it must have been quite a journey, and I'm glad and so proud to see how much you've achieved in the past few years since you left the program. This is awesome. Now, Joe, maybe you want to talk to this also, the idea of innovation. You can explain, if you want, what you did when you left the program, more on the digital side of things, and then more on the digital and experiential side of things.
Yeah. So, my background, I was 14 years into finance. So retail finance at Charles Schwab, for those people in the United States know what that is. And then before that, I was in the military. So I have no experience before BSB with innovation and digitalization. So yeah, I was just an older dude. I had LinkedIn, which is great, but I had no apps on my phone and that kind of thing. During BSB, it was more of a come to Jesus moment on if I wanted to start my own business. I had to embrace technology, innovation, and digital marketing. So during our conferences, we had guest speakers and people that are inside of BSB talk to us about digitalization and marketing and the use of social media and that sort of thing. I pushed back as hard as I can on it, and I'm so glad that I eventually took hold and really grasped that, because I would not be successful where I am right now if I did not take what I applied at BSB and put it here in Switzerland at the Zurich Wine Academy. So every day I'm on apps. I have I think 6 social media accounts. So if you want to follow us, Instagram, it's zurichwineacademy.com or Zurich Wine Academy. Thank you. So a little plug. But yeah, I use it every day. And then the other thing is my focus clientele here in Zurich, clearly I'm not Swiss German, is the expats, and expats in the age range of between 25 and 45. And these are all working professionals in technology, strategy, biotech, all that stuff. And a lot of times they can't physically come here into my room, into my space, to be able to study WSET or Wine Scholar Guild, all that stuff. So all of my classes are live streamed. We use sampling, 50 milliliter sterile samples for students that couldn't attend. I have guys that go on these business trip and they're piped in from New York City, actually attending our class. So for me, I was very apprehensive of this whole digital stuff, and I did not like it. And now a majority of my business comes from Instagram. So yeah, so it's one of those things that I'm so thankful that I had this opportunity at the BSB to really be exposed to all these facets, because that really made me crush my first year, and I'm selling out classes left and right in our second year. So yeah, it's just so important for my business, and I'm very thankful for that.
Right. So yes, all the digital tools, you can do hybrid education and develop your clientele like this in a wider way. Without these tools, yeah, you wouldn't be in the game. You'd be partly in but a bit out.
Yeah, and
awesome.
there's no money like traditional marketing, newspaper, magazines, television ads. You can't do it as a small business unless you have a really rich uncle. So you have to get scrappy and get on this social media and any type of. And I even learned how to make a website. So I use Wix, the website. I'm there every day playing around the website. So and any good feedback, let me know, please.
Okay, we'll ask our participants to give you feedback. Yes. What are once again the social networks, Joe, that working best for you?
Yeah, Instagram is my favorite. Again, I'm focused on this. I guess you call millennial generation, even a little bit towards my age range in the generation YX area. I don't do Facebook. I just don't want Facebook. I don't enjoy it. I don't like being a part of that. So Instagram's my favorite. Also TikTok. Believe it or not, I know I don't do any dances, unfortunately, not yet. I'm working on that. But I'll tell you what, TikTok's the future right now on this sort of thing. LinkedIn, I still post to LinkedIn on occasion, but Threads is another one that's on there, and then YouTube. If I can throw on YouTube, like some of the small little like 5-minute classes, I put it on there too. But I do use YouTube to record all my classes via Zoom, and I upload on YouTube private channels. So all my students can go on the YouTube private channels to review all the classes in case they've missed it, or in case they want to go back and review it. So yeah, if all these things, I even took an Instagram class after I got out of BSB. I was the old guy in that class, but I'm very thankful I took that class and learned how to use the app and videos and all this other stuff and drones. So yeah, but the Instagram I think is the best. Yeah.
Right, and yes, a lot of the tools, the videos. I remember you were talking about maybe being a certified drone
certified drone expert. I am.
Expert, exactly. So, some of the elements that needs to be developed. We have in the classroom, of course, like. Also speakers from digital marketing agencies that talk and share their experience, and then it pushes, I think, also students to go the next step and say, okay, you, unlike me, probably we're not so keen sometime on social networks, but we all have to do it for obviously business reasons. Great, that's awesome. Now,
Jacques, let me step in.
Yes, Bruno, please go ahead.
Innovation competency. Although, I mean, I love wine, but I know that I'm here to kind of bring the spirit side of it and give you guys some tangible examples. I work in Diageo, as I said. If you don't know what Diageo is, you should look it up. But I think innovation in the wine and spirits industry isn't just about creating new products, but about rethinking how we engage consumers, right? And elevate experiences and stay ahead of evolving trends. So let me give you an example. I don't know if you probably heard about Johnny Walker, of course, have different label colors from red to blue. And there's an innovation that was recently launched in countries such as Mexico, Chile, and most recently in Peru, which is called the Johnny Walker Blonde label. Blonde, just as Jackie, our true, authentic American blonde Californian. Mm-hmm. So the strategy here is entirely different because our audience is younger, is more female focused, and looking for a different consumption occasion. right? I mean, it was a challenge at first because you're trying to put a Scotch whiskey into a market that is very traditional, but at the same time, audiences are ever evolving, right? So Johnny Walker Blonde, in this case, thrives in social, more vibrant and out of trade settings. So think evening gatherings, right, or music driven events. So instead of approaching it like a traditional whiskey, we've built its positioning around mixability, fun, and accessibility, right? So in short, I think innovation isn't just about what's next, but it's about creating what's next, you know? And that's
Okay.
something I apply every day in my role.
Okay. And in that sense, you talk about various ways to innovate. Which one is the more powerful or potent for you? Is it the road to market? Is it creating a new space for consumers to use the product usage?
Trying to create new occasion consumptions,
Okay.
definitely. I mean, we are a company that sells so many different categories in the spirits world, right? But in the end, we're still a Scotch company.
Okay.
So, and Scotch as a category, it has so many prejudices. It has so many obstacles and barriers, right? Like you should only drink it neat. It's only for old men. Drinking it, in front of a chimney or something like that, crazy stuff. You cannot mix it. You should never mix it, right? Especially if it's like a high-end whiskey. So we're
Right.
always trying to innovate in the way that we approach our consumers, or like I said, bringing new products into the market, but changing completely the strategy that comes behind it.
Okay. Can you, Bruno, maybe talk about, you said some people actually might not know Diageo or they should check it out, but can you maybe tell us two lines on the size of the company or the ranking worldwide, roughly, so that people have an idea where you are?
Yeah, just to be concise, it's the largest spirits company in the world in terms of production and distribution worldwide. So Diageo is in more than 180 markets right now, and we own such iconic brands as I just said, Johnny Walker, a lot of single malts, the best-selling vodka in the world, which is Smirnoff,
Yeah.
Tanqueray as a gin, and of course Don Julio in the world of agave, tequila.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, thanks for this. And of course, this company needs to be more than anyone else so innovative to keep capturing a wider market share, of course, and have a pulse on in consumer insights as well. Is that a big part of your job also, understanding those consumer insights and understanding where each brand fits?
Constantly. Yeah. I mean, we have a lot of paid research worldwide,
Yeah.
and then that's passed down, regionally until it reaches your market, right? So, yeah, it's very important to stay ahead, not only stay ahead of the trends, but actually creating them. That's what
Yes.
Diageo focuses on. It's really important. Yeah, and
Expanding markets.
exactly. And despite obviously you have different habits and customs in each particular market, I mean, globalization eventually it will come to, it will reach you, right? One of those could be, for instance, healthy drinking habits in a way. So we have to innovate a lot in low ABV cocktails or perhaps spirits that are non-alcoholic. And Tanqueray was the first in our range to do that, to innovate with Tanqueray 0%,
Okay.
zero ABV. And also we bought Sidlip. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it
Yes.
was the first non-alcoholic spirit in the world, right? So, yeah.
Right. And those two are doing well. Are they beating the global trend of the spirits industry in terms of growth?
In terms of growth, they are growing at an accelerated pace, definitely.
Okay.
We don't have it. We don't have them in Peru, but we have Tanqueray 0% in the region which I'm part of, which is called South LAC. It's like the south of South America. I belong
Okay.
to a cluster where the three main markets are Peru, Chile, and Argentina.
Okay. So you do travel across those markets to as an ambassador of the brand in a sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to delve into my evolution on the role, but because I began as a brand ambassador for the Reserve portfolio,
Yeah.
which in the Ajax language means like the luxury spirits.
Okay.
But then I transitioned into the advocacy manager for Peru mainly, but I keep participating in conversations for the whole region, not only South America, but in Latin America, in such huge markets as Mexico and Colombia.
Okay.
So the job is getting excited, Jack.
Excellent. Well, very happy, and I know you're good at it, and you're a great advocate in general. This is awesome. We're going to move to the second key competency that we feel is key for this industry, for those wanting to take leadership position in the industry. We talked about innovation. We could spend 3 hours on innovation. We had a little glimpse of what innovation is about in this industry. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about product knowledge and the codes. Why is it so important to have a minimum varnish of really product knowledge? And when I say minimum, a lot of you guys go a lot deeper and deeper and quite in depth about this. But why is it important? I don't know who wants to take this question first. Maybe Jacqueline, if you want to go to it.
Yeah. I think for me, like I said, I'm involved in so many layers of the industry. And I think a lot of that has to do with the exposure to all the different things you're going to absorb in the program. So, especially when you're meeting with all these upper level executives, you want to make sure you have that knowledge base. So, Bruno brought in the spirits part of the industry, which I think what's really great about the program is even though 90 to 100% of my day is the wine industry, the fact that I have the level 2 in spirits is further along than a lot of other sales professionals have in the wine and spirits industry. And so Bruno can probably attest to that more than me, but I think it kind of helps you understand so many levels of the business. So, having that WSET advantage and having it be a component to the program is a big deal, especially since for what I do as a sales manager for a winery here in Lodi, that's a big accreditation to have if you want to be involved in sales, or if you want to be involved of anything, trying to talk to a lot of on-prem or on-premise or distribution companies. And for me too, then I also have the viticulture side of the industry. So I go transition often. And so between the winemaking and the enology side to the viticulture side. And so all of those were things that I learned, or that you go through and learn in the program. For me though, the most impactful was probably the field trips, because I'm a really big networker, and I find that it is important to know and have all the product knowledge, but can you speak to that in a room with high level executives? And a lot of the opportunities that I have had since the program have been because I can talk about it. And I had an opportunity 2 years ago to help my family with an old vine Zinfandel vineyard that we have, because we went in to try and sell grapes to one of the top wineries in the world, not just the country. And I'm meeting with the CEO and the head of winemaking, and they're sitting there, and because of my industry knowledge and because I could say I have the wine and spirits MBA from BSB from Burgundy, they were like, why don't we work with you and do a partnership, and you create your own brand from this Zinfandel vineyard? And so it's awesome. Opportunities like that. And I've been working on it for 2 years, and it is a big winery, so it's slow to evolve. But having the ability to walk into a room like that, and it is very intimidating. And, you are there to sell wine grapes for your family. And then all of a sudden they're like, wait, we're going to give you an even better opportunity and help you kind of create something, because they treasure the knowledge from a younger person in the industry. And then they also are like, wow, she has a story to tell, or they have a story to tell. So a lot of opportunities come from knowing how to speak, like Jacques said, those important codes, and knowing. And I, honestly, coming back to California, there's a lot of great MBA programs in California, but to be honest, they love when I say that I lived abroad and I was in France and in Burgundy with an MBA. And I'm sure the other two alumni can attest to that. That is such a special experience. And that alone gives you such an advantage when you go back into the career world as a professional in the wine industry or the spirits industry.
Right, it does set you apart. We're lucky in this region to have probably 36 of the top 50 most expensive wines in the world, which is basically a testimony to the tradition and some innovation also that's going on. But the added value is being created in this region in quite a very interesting way. So taking some ideas here and there and spreading them with a global vision, it's great. We really can't wait to see your new product, Jacqueline, when it will be ready. That's so exciting that you walked into that room with the confidence needed so that those guys on the other side say, hey, actually, we should give her a project. We should, give her this new product to launch. And you must have left the room with stars in your eyes, I suppose.
Yeah, and it's been a journey. It's been a lot of work, 2 years, because I need another project, Jacques. but no, it's great. It's the best way to try and sell my family's fruit. So hopefully in the next few months here, I can get a bottle and a label, and I've already presented to them my marketing ideas and met with their CMO or their head of marketing, and it's been such an experience, and I don't think I'd have been prepared for it had I not, or I'm much more prepared for it had I had gone through the MBA program and learned all those tools. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. That's awesome. We're so glad to have you as a student. We will move to Joe now regarding because Joe's perspective is going to be really interesting, not coming from the wine industry, coming from finance. And maybe you want to explain a little bit, because for some of our participants, WSET doesn't mean anything yet. So maybe you want to explain what those certificates, what they mean in the industry at the same time.
Yeah. So we talk about product knowledge. For me, product knowledge is the most important thing. I'm an instructor. And for the WSET, the Wine and Spirit Education Trust, it goes back into, I think, 1969, where it was created. It's out of London. It's a very, very structured program for wine, spirits, sake, and beer, from level 1 to level 4 in a lot of those areas. And for me, for my transition, being a finance guy with I drank a lot of wine, but never necessarily learned anything about wine. I took the level 1 during COVID, and before I even got results for the level 1, which is the beginner course, is the basics, which I highly recommend. I've done it. I send a lot of students through that. We went to level 2, and then level 2 is an intermediate, very, very structured by the book. It's a British system, so it's very, very traditional education. To level 3, which is the advanced class. For those of you guys who are interested in coming to BSB, I highly recommend coming with level 2 knowledge, because then you have the opportunity to take level 3. I think that's still the case at the Burgundy School of Business for wines. Beyond level 3, that's when you start distinguishing people. So level 4, I took that after I got out of the Burgundy School of Business. But I agree with Jackie. I was really surprised with the spirits too, because no offense, Bruno, I don't drink spirits. I just don't love them, except for good old Jack and Coke. I love that. but I'm a wine guy. But I took level 2 spirits, and actually I take level 3 spirits as well afterwards. And now we teach. I don't teach it, but I have a person that teaches it. We teach level 2, 1 and 2 spirits here at the Burgundy School of Business at the Zurich Wine Academy. But for those of you coming outside the industry, having WSET certification is so important. It is a global education platform. It's for everywhere, in the world, and it's highly recognized. Not only just having the certification, but also performing it. When you approach somebody and their CV says WST level 3 wines with distinction, you know that this person is very educated. Like, wow, that's cool. So just getting it's not enough. It's not enough. So for me, I strongly am a firm believer in WSET. I love it. It is very structured. Some people don't love that, but I'm also a certified sommelier at the Court of Master Sommeliers Europe, and I'm working on my Master of Wine right now. So anybody can also reach out to me about further beyond Burgundy School of Business and this education. And for me, the Master Wine is so amazing. Back to like piggyback on Jackie's stuff, just knowing the knowledge is great. I have tons of books here, but being able to have really good concrete examples by talking to producers, that's the best. That's truly the best information out there, because Master Wine is a master of overall of the world of wine, but those producers are masters of that piece of land in Lodi. Okay. And they're the best. So being able to properly talk to them and to have confidence in approaching them is very important. One last thing about the BSB. Before coming to BSB, I didn't really know about the brand, the Burgundy School of Business brand. But I am not kidding. Like once a week, if I say something, oh, yeah, I went to Burgundy School of Business, like, oh my God, you went to BSB? I was like, how do you know the BSB? All over Europe. It's insane. Like, oh, I hired somebody from BSB. Oh, that's a great program. And for those of you in the United States and are like looking at this and kind of say like, I don't know, there's all these other options. There's options all over the place. BSB has a huge brand in Europe. It is insane. And I still am amazed for every day when I say that sort of thing. So the BSB alumni, they're strong here, and it is a strong brand.
Yeah, we're working. Thank you, Joe. Working on our brand, evangelization in the US and China. We're really strong in China also, and people in the US find us typing very often. MBA. Oh, by the way, if I type wine, does this thing exist? And they find us, and that's how we have quite a large number of US and Canadian students as well. So that's exciting. So yes, those certificates are part of the program because we feel the product knowledge together with winemaking, enology, sensorial analysis are really key to give you a strong enough understanding so that people that share the same passion can talk, speak the same language in a sense. Bruno, maybe you want to add to this more on the spirit side?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more, Joe, as you just said. I think these certifications are really important, but just to make all the audience, to feel at ease, if you choose not to take them, you will still get a really solid education on wines and spirits. You still got the Wines of the World course, Jack?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, you still got Steve on the payroll.
Yes, we have Steve Charters, Master of Wine, more than ever. Is a pillar of our School of Wine, indeed.
Definitely. I mean, imagine the luxury to have a Master of Wine to be your day-to-day teacher, right? So, as you know, I completed the WSET level 2 in wines and level 2 in spirits, along with WSET level 3 in wines, all while juggling the regular coursework. But it was pretty fun. It was challenging, and after the MBA, I went straight for the recently launched at that time WSET level 3 in spirits. Yes, as Joe already said, right? And since I don't like doing things the easy way, I traveled to London to take the course and the final exam in person. So it's definitely a marker, a differentiator, right? Like in my role at Diageo, the competency of product knowledge is definitely essential. Okay. Whether I'm designing high-end experiences for Johnny Walker Blue Label, or training bartenders on the nuances of Don Julio Tequila, I think it all comes down to credibility. Credibility is everything. And when you speak the industry's language fluently, you're not just selling a product, but you are building trust and above all, influencing decision makers. And that's really important, right? So I think the MBA didn't just teach us about products, but it helped us become industry insiders. As you said, right, like fluent in the codes, history, and technical aspects that set apart true professionals in our business, right?
That's true, Bruno. That's the objective. I think we have about 80 different speakers from all over the world during the trips and in the classroom and so on. We have a mix of academics and really executives, and the idea is really to extend the network, talk the talk, like you're saying. There are words, codes, ways to behave, and this is taught throughout the program. Indeed. We're moving to the third point or competency that I'd like to talk about, which is strategic vision. Any of you can talk about it? I don't know who wants to start on this one, Joe.
Yeah, I can start. So for me, the strategic vision was very important. We have all these guest speakers. They're just not some random guest speakers. We have like the chairman, former chairman now of Brown-Forman, and the former CEO of Krug. Thank you, Jock, for bringing those guys in. But I think the CEO of Krug, and I can't pronounce her last name, but Maggie Henriquez.
Yes, that's correct.
Beautiful. Okay. That's my deficiency, is being able to pronounce his last name. But Maggie came in and talked to us about disruption and about her strategic vision. And I've never taken so many notes on a guest speaker. I have it at home somewhere, but it was like liquid gold coming out of her mouth. And I'll never forget that seminar, because about disruption, about being strong, about people not liking you because of this. And I applied that, leaving the Burgundy School of Business, trying to become some type of like bloggist, which doesn't work. And then seeing an opportunity here in Zurich for the Zurich Wine Academy, where they have already established wine schools. But by applying what I've learned in these sessions and learning from the BSB, I identified an opportunity here for foreigners that speak English, that I can speak English. I can't speak any other languages, right? And so utilizing what I've learned and coming into market and starting from scratch and being very scrappy. A lot of people don't like me who are from the other WSD schools, because I'm crushing them. But it's a thing that you can be disruptive. These things are going to happen, but you have to be strong-willed. And having Maggie there, and hopefully you can get her in the future too, was priceless. And it's worth the entire tuition of the BSB just for that one time to be in front of her and hear that.
Right. Excellent. Thank you, Joe. It's funny, you were mentioning Krug, that famous champagne brand, and Maggie Henriquez. We actually were talking again this morning of bringing the new CEO of Krug, Manuel Raymond, on board in October. So he will be a speaker explaining what the brand is about. Indeed. So thank you very much. Anyone else wants to talk about the strategic vision? Maybe Jacqueline, you're working on this new brand, so I guess you'd better have a vision, right, for it?
Yeah.
The second brand, actually, since you left.
Second brand, the first brand too. The vision was very personal for me, and I created a rosé wine brand, as Jacques mentioned, called La Belle New Wine, which obviously is about like my story, which is like the French education side of me, compare or like in unison or along with my journey growing up and being in the wine industry from birth. And I think it's constant, right? So what my vision started at is changing. And so when I got the opportunity for this new brand, that was a big thing. Is it's like, do I create something similar to what I have with the rosé brand, or do I start with something completely new? Because this is more about my family's story, not just my story. And so a lot of a strategic vision is storytelling. And, I think for me, like, to go off of what Joe said as well, you learn a lot when you're in Champagne meeting with those producers, and they are some of the most acclaimed and well-respected and intelligent people in the industry. And you just don't forget that and those things that they say. And I think it's very important to start anything with a product with a vision. I was very involved in the vision for this new brand too that I'm working on. And it's like what Bruno said earlier on in the call, is you have to be able to connect to your consumer. So even though my first presentation on my vision was with executives, they aren't going to be sold on it unless I convince them this is why a consumer wants this. And so both those things matter. So the consumer is so important in your strategic vision. Your company is so important in your vision. Your story is so important to your vision. There's all those levels of it. And so, yeah, I think for me, that's one of my favorite parts of the industry, because it kind of, you get your personality gets to come out and your uniqueness gets to come out, and everybody in this industry has a story. It doesn't need to be familiar or family oriented. Like you can see now with Bruno, myself, and Joe, we all have a story to tell, and it's different.
Absolutely, and quite a compelling story too. Quite an amazing story. We have about 10 minutes left. We have two more competencies we want to talk about to move to, senior positions in the wine and spirits industry that you all have, the three of you. We want to talk about leadership. We want to talk about global vision. Maybe we start with leadership. Obviously, you have to be a leader to change the family business and come up with new ideas without renouncing to some traditional roots that the business has. You need to be a leader also to create your company and bring on board maybe employees and a vision and services and market them and so on. And same on the brand side. So I don't know who wants to talk about leadership and maybe their horse coaching experience also. I don't know.
Okay, I can talk a little bit about leadership.
Go for it, Joe.
Yeah. So we have this, and hopefully we still have it. This Stella Klein comes in, if not her, similar type of consultant, career development and leadership development. With the horse. So I still keep in touch with Stella, and she was my coach for leadership and career development.
Right.
Having somebody like her as a one-on-one professional to really be able to look at your leadership style, understand your style, and find, if it's blind spots, also find the strengths to be able to utilize your leadership style for the next steps post BSB. So part of that was the capstone of the horse training. So I was sick that day, and I'm scared of horses, but I'll let you guys talk about horse training. But I think the greatest leadership opportunity at the Burgundy School of Business was in our study groups. And I say this because being able to help your team, because there's all kinds of groups, it's all group-based, a lot of group-based stuff. You have people from all over the world attending BSB in the MBA program. To be able to be a peer leader and to navigate the complexities and the difficulties of different cultures and being able to deliver an assignment on time at a very high level, because you're getting graded on this stuff, takes a very special type of leadership. And I'm sure, Jackie talking about her family, going to the family business, like that's very difficult. The same thing here is you can't just tell somebody, do this now, if you're going to be like the self-appointed leader of the group. It's more of a participative, cultural, let's all give way together to accomplish the mission. And I thought that was huge for me because I started learning more about my leadership style through our coach, as well as applying that in our teams.
Yeah, one of our coaches is Stella Klein, and she's a Brazilian background. She lives in various parts of the world in senior management positions. So we're glad we still have her on board, of course, to work with me on the career and leadership journey, which is it is a journey. This program in itself, personal and professional at the same time. Okay, maybe we look and move to the global vision idea. We are rooted in Burgundy with this program, but we travel to New York, we travel to Greece, we travel to Germany and various regions in France. We actually visited, visiting this year 5 regions. We did 4 for the wine tourism seminar and another week in Champagne plus Burgundy. So that's actually 5 regions in general. But global vision, how important is it for you guys to have? I mean, you talked, Joe, a little bit about it in the leadership aspect because of those up to 15 nationalities we've had in the classroom. I don't know if Bruno, you want to talk about it, or Jacqueline. Diageo is, of course, has a huge global footprint in the world.
Yeah, I think in our industry, I mean, a local approach is important, but a global mindset is essential. Right. So as I said, like trends emerge in one region and spread worldwide, and so understanding international dynamics is key to staying ahead, right? And I think one of the most eye-opening aspects of the MBA was the international field trips, right? That well, yeah, you already mentioned, I think, Düsseldorf for Provine. Do you still have that this
Yes,
year?
We're going to Geisler and Moselle as well. We're going to the Moselle also.
Amazing. There was New York to understand the three-tier system, and London, of course, for its incredible retail and bar scene, right?
London is online now, so the experience on the retail is really online. But we kept that program online, and we're going to Greece.
You're going to Greece, right?
So that's far with a international marketing and consulting project. Yeah.
So I think let me tell you one thing. I think these trips weren't just like educational check boxes, right? I mean, these trips gave us first-hand exposure to the industry at different scales, in different environments, different cultural influences. So if I remember correctly, like our experience in Provine in Düsseldorf, it's like the world's largest wine and probably spirits fair in the world, where thousands of producers, distributors, buyers from across the globe gather, to network and do business, essentially. It was one thing to study market entry strategies in class, but it was completely another thing to see it. For example, how an independent winery from Argentina was negotiating a distribution deal with a Japanese importer in real time. I was like eavesdropping a bit, but moments like this kind of really hammered home the importance of networking, as Jackie said, and industry relationships and how global markets operate, right? So it's one thing to study global trends in a classroom, and it's another to experience them in real life, definitely. And my current role in Diageo requires me to bridge global brand strategies with local market realities. And that's really interesting, right? Like luxury consumers in Peru have completely different expectations than those in London or in Shanghai. But at the same time, they are influenced by global trends in hospitality, in mixology, in premiumization. So understanding these global influences allows us to position our brands in a way that ultimately resonates locally while staying true to their global identity, right? So,
right, absolutely, which is absolutely fascinating because wines or spirits, they're in a sense they're a food, right? They're something you put in your body together with food. They complement food very often, not always, but. There's such a huge cultural aspect towards it, and the global vision is important, but culture is very, very local as well. There's a global culture, the global village, and then there are a lot of local villages as well. Any of you want to add anything to this as we're coming close to the end of our hour? Any additional comments?
I'll just say that with the trips, I echo what Bruno is saying, how impactful they were. And the winery I work for here in California, on their sales, I actually worked with them when we were on the trip at Provine. I would go, like, I knew them from growing up, but when she saw my exposure and how I was in that environment, she's been working on hiring me for the last 4 years. To me finally being like, okay, I feel like I'm in a position to do this along with all my other projects. and she's been really supportive of me with my other brands and my family business. And so the opportunities that come from being present at those trips is so impactful, very impactful. And then just Jock, because nobody talked about the horse coaching, I want to say that when we did that, I'm sure Bruno very much remembers, we were like, what are we doing? This makes no sense. They've given us no guidance. But if you trust the process, you learn a lot from that experience. And I walked away remembering to this day still that as a leader, you're not always told what to do. So don't expect that people are going to tell you what to do. You're supposed to be leading other people and their visions, and you're supposed to be creating that environment. And so that for me is all I'll say about the horse coaching. If you trust the process, it'll be much more impactful than you realize.
I did it once myself, and I'm a little bit afraid of horses, although I'd love not to be afraid of them. But so I did part of the exercise. You don't have to, for this leadership exercise, to really be anywhere near the horses if you don't want to. But it's all very, very personal in a sense. All right. So, well, I want really to thank the three of you. Jacqueline, Joe, and Bruno. Some of you for waking up really, really early. Once again, it's 5 in California. We're about 6 now. I don't know if you're going back to bed, Jacqueline, or starting your day. Probably starting your day, I would think. Bruno will let us know what he does at 8 a.m. usually, given that you're on the spirits scene and maybe late events sometime, and Joe working with events at night as well. But anyways, it was really awesome to see you again, of course. To have this chat, we have comments from a few people. I see Frank from producer of Cava in Spain, who was very interested in the views he heard from you guys. Anastasia, who saw the program, and the session was very informative in a whole. We have Kola Wole, who is actually has an interview with the MBA in a couple of weeks, I think. Found the masterclass very impactful as well. He has a question.
Yeah, we have
one question about is the pricing mechanism of wines and spirits. How does this work? That's a tough one. Who wants to take this one? Not Joe.
No, not me.
Go ahead, Jacqueline. I think
I remember it was part of the program. So I don't know if that's changed, but I guess I'm trying to understand, is the question about the WSET, or is it about?
No, actually the question is from Jacinto Palma Diaz, and she's saying what vision from the spirit.
Sorry, Miriam. We're talking about the pricing. The question a bit later, which is about pricing mechanism of wine and spirits. I think it's about Kola Wole. I think it is about the price structure of wines and spirits. Probably, I would think it is.
Oh, like the different categories.
What's in the price of a bottle?
Yeah.
Juice, bottle, logistics, margin, marketing.
That's a lot of stuff.
What determines the price of spirits and wines?
I'll try and sum this up real quick, but it really depends on your cost of production, and there's a lot of layers to that, and then it depends on your competition. So the first thing I do before researching anything about a product or a new product that I'm wanting to create is I go to a grocery store in that market, and I look at, like for me, for the Zinfandel project, I found Zinfandel on the shelf, and I looked at that specific category and the pricing structure. And so pricing is a big one when it comes to competition and where you want to be in comparison, and then also factoring in your cost. And sometimes your costs have to adjust if you want a certain price to be competitive. So I can go way more in depth to that, but that would be a quick overview of what I would say to look at.
Okay, thank you, Jacqueline. I don't know if Bruno, you want to add anything on this, on the spirit side?
Um, I mean, I could give you all the technical aspects of it, right? I mean, the cost of your raw material, where do you source it from, the quality of the water that you use is so important, sometimes undervalued.
Right.
And but in the end, also it depends on how you want to position yourself. Principally in the spirits world against the wine. I mean, it depends if you're a large producer, right? But marketing is such a probably the most important factor in the whole value chain, right? And that includes your packaging, the quality of the bottle that you're putting the liquid in. So yeah, a lot of considerations to have.
And the money you put in distribution channels as well. Is that correct?
Definitely, yeah. You know that we are experiencing right now a real important change in our road to consumer. We were
Right.
working with Pepsi, you know the soft,
Okay. Yeah.
right? And now we're changing to Coca-Cola. In how we, because we cannot sell directly as Diageo in our markets. We have to have like an official distributor and then perhaps some co-distributors as well, right? So
Okay.
it's been like a headache, but it's it's for the best. It's for the best because we're gonna reach more consumers this way.
For a good cause. Excellent. I didn't forget you, Jacinto. We have a producer, a wine producer in Algarve, who has a question for Bruno. So, what vision from the spirit world would you share with a small scale wine producer from Algarve to make it in the global wine market?
Algarve, you mean like Algarve, Portugal?
Yes,
Jacinto? Ok.
yes, Portugal. Veia
Bom dia,
Amphora wine
boa tarde.
producer.
Eu estive ali, acho eu, uma vez. Então, so look, spirits brands, especially those at a global scale, I think they rely heavily on brand storytelling and advocacy and long-term positioning. While perhaps wine producers, probably the ones you're gonna meet in Burgundy, if you go there, like really small and independent, right? They, I don't know how to put this. They focus on terroir-driven authenticity, principally. You know, like vintage variations and navigating navigating like a highly fragmented market, right? So the way you build a brand in both industries differ greatly, I think. So one advice that I would give is to, and you will feel this because I think we talked about this with Jackie and with Anna. Like BSB will organize a lot of field trips, but if you can, please organize some wine trips yourself and visit small producers in Burgundy, and you will notice that these guys are so confident. You know, like my product is the best, and you know most of the time it tasted great, but they live in a bubble also. And if they want, it also depends on your goals as a producer, of course. But if you want to keep expanding, then you need to put a bit more of storytelling into your budget, right? So how do you approach, how you communicate with your audience? Also connecting in with what Joe said about using social media is so important. So that would be my general advice.
Great. Thank you so much, Bruno. One more question from Marumo, asking about product sponsorship and collaboration, co-branding probably. I don't know if Jacqueline on the wine area has something to say about this, or Bruno in the spirits brands having big budgets. Maybe they are strong in terms of collaboration and co-branding activities. Do you want to comment on this?
I can, you know.
Okay, great.
Yeah, for my first product launch with the rosé, I did it under my own funds, and I was very selective about the pricing, so I didn't really take any sponsorship at that point. I will say that the people you know that are willing to help will lend a hand, and they'll give you some assistance on that front, whether it be offering you a free hand Or, you know, for me, it was like I needed someone that could help me do the bottling for free, my first vintage.
Okay.
Whereas now I would say, I would not be able to put my family Zinfandel in a bottle without having that collaboration from a winery, a larger winery. You're seeing more and more these larger wineries wanting to invest in smaller, more premium products. And if you have a smaller vineyard or you have smaller yields, and in California, smaller isn't necessarily smaller in other parts of the world, but you can kind of use that as leverage. So the way that my collaboration works with the project I'm working on is I supplied the grapes, which was fine. My family was happy to lend the grapes so that I could try and produce a wine that would help us sell the grapes. And then the winery that I work with on the partnership front, they are covering the cost of the wine being made and allowing me the winemaking, like they're giving me all the winemaking resources. And then at the end of the day, when that product gets on the shelf, hopefully, then we have a deal where we work out on paper how we distribute the funds and how that partnership gains the revenue. So for me, it's sweat equity. Like, what am I putting into it? For them, they're actually putting in money, but to them, it's not a lot of money. If that makes sense. So I don't know if hopefully that answers the question. My experience, my situation is fairly unique, but we have partnerships and collaborations like this a lot. And I would say that's more reasonable in the US as opposed to doing a sponsorship of some sort. But then there's also raising money. So sometimes you can raise money. And I would say Joe, as the finance guy, could probably answer that. But there's a way to get investors and that piece. And that is not really something I have experience with.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much, Jacqueline, Bruno. Lots of collaboration probably as well in the spirits world. Maybe we don't have so much time to talk about it. So we covered quite a lot of ground. You have a lot of thank you from a lot of the people that were online with us today. I want to thank the participants. Jacinto, Nastasia, Chris, Jala, Frank, Marumo, Colabole, and all the others that were here as part of this class. Thank you very much, you guys. Jacqueline, Joe, Bruno. I will see you, I hope, in Germany maybe this year, or maybe in New York. Some of you will see. So it was great, very informative. Lots of recent updated information. I wish you all a great day. I want to thank you for joining us. Thank you, Miriam and Elsa, for putting this together as well. And you're welcome to use the email that Miriam gave you on the chat if you have any more information, or contact me as well. Even our alumni, of course, it's always good to understand what the program is about from the inside as well. Thank you very much. Everybody has a wonderful week, and cheers to everyone. Ciao.
Thank you, Jacques. And the rest
See you guys
of the
later.
Thank you very much.
Invitation.
Jackie, bye, Bruno.
Thank you, guys.